It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
No matter how much training, how much expertise, how much money we spend, if we lack that, we can't connect with that community. When we go into towns and generally acquire a business and they've already got good connection, we just add a little bit, we explode. You have to connect with your community in regional Australia.
And that is David Gray in regional New South Wales as we welcome you back to another Real Estate Breakfast podcast right around Australia 7 days a week. And we are talking property news and information from Caloundra to Toorak. Now, there are two very different parts of Australia. Caloundra, yes, beautiful spot, and Toorak, very prestigious. Now, you can stream us right now. We are on multiple platforms, including Spotify and Amazon. It is a Monday morning and the last day of the month, March the 31st. Tomorrow is April. And was the weekend that has just gone a weekend of you going off to an auction? Perhaps you even purchased on Saturday. Congratulations if you did. Or it might have been a weekend that you decided to sell up your property. Maybe you are on the countdown of making some big changes. Now, here's something that I saw a couple of days ago you don't see ever. Well, I haven't seen it before. Domain posted last week a property that had weeds growing out of the carpet. Didn't look great, gotta say. People posted online that it pointed to signs of water damage. Yeah, they might be onto something there. Also mould and even potential foundation issues. While some suggested doing some repairs, others advised a complete rebuild. Just comes back to that due diligence, and lots of it when buying property, particularly if there is mould and weeds growing out of the carpet. Let's catch up with David Gray, the CEO from Lifestyle Group in Port Macquarie. And good morning to you, David. Welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast. How about that? Weeds growing out of the carpet. Have you seen that in your line of work?
Thanks so much for having me. I mean, the trend of bringing the outside inside, that certainly represented that. I mean, I think my best was seeing a horse on a third floor in an apartment, so it probably beats that one.
Well, hang on, you got to tell that story. You saw a horse in an apartment?
Yeah, we had a jockey that had gone a little bit mad in Kingsford and thought it was a good idea to bring his horse home.
Is this a real story or is this a wind-up?
This is a real story. It's nearly a 20-year-old story, but it's definitely a real story.
What, you walk in and you see the horse and you go, something doesn't quite feel right here.
There was a complaint, so we were there to address the situation. But yeah, it was pretty wild. I've always said it'd be a really good book, you know, the diaries of a real estate agent and the things that we've seen in open for inspections or properties that we've managed.
Have you got so that's from 20 years ago. Have you got a more modern sort of anecdotal story?
I'll stay PG. I mean, our property managers see all sorts of things when they go through routines, which are probably not for PG, but it's pretty wild out there. I think in real estate, the one thing that I'd really like to push is being house pride has seemed to disappear a little bit in society. So one thing I'm pushing for at the moment is to look at maybe we can do longer tenancy that people can really make their properties feel more like home. But that 6-12 month, you know, people sort of in and out. But if we can bring back that house pride back into our industry, I think it'll be a good thing.
I've actually got a friend of mine who, well, this was towards the end of last year, went out on a date, ended up going back to the date's property, and he said, my God, the mess, there were dishes piled up. It was just a filthy property, and he got out of there real quick.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a little bit about Lifestyle Group, because you're there in Port Macquarie and you're in different areas, aren't you, in terms of regional New South Wales?
Yeah, we started in Port Macquarie with an office of 4 people and 300 managements. We're now 21 offices. We're from Foster to Brunswick Heads. We've got a little bit of a gap in the middle. We're slowly closing that up around that Coffs Harbour region, but we've just opened up Bellingen and we've got Nambucca coming and we'd love to get into Coffs. The reason we see growth is that we're seeing a lot of transactions happen within our group, a lot of referrals inside our group. Having the one owner, you know, really allows us to work with a team, and it's a pretty special culture that we've created. So it's a team that loves growth and it's been a really exciting journey.
And I would imagine that if you sort of go back to COVID, the amount of people that moved out of Sydney into a regional New South Wales, you would have noticed that for sure around COVID.
Yeah, since that, we've had in Port alone, we had 49% growth in property prices. We've seen a few people move back since then. I think what I say is just put regional on the map. I think if people were thinking about the move at some stage, it sped that up. Talking about the market, a lot of lifestyle property, like more than 5 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres. We saw a lot of people that wanted to live on property for a sense of security, during that COVID period. I think a lot of them have realised how much maintenance in those properties. So days on market are pretty consistent, maybe dragged out a little bit in our normal area as such, where, you've got your normal house. But on a lifestyle style property, we've seen those days on markets just drift out a little bit as everyone now sees that dream is a little bit of work.
What about Lismore? Are you represented in there?
Yeah, I was there for the floods.
Yeah.
I'd only just bought the business, so that was a pretty dramatic time. We had 4 of our team members lose their homes. So we do a lot for charity, but at that stage, we gave back to our team. So we raised money for our team and supported our team. But with this recent weather, I was pretty active talking about the media. There's so much anxiety with what's happened, and the reports, like I was tracking it from back in Port Macquarie, and, you're seeing photos, online and even with media outlets showing pictures of the last flood at this time. So it was very misleading. I'm asking that, next time we have a weather pattern, if our media and even other government bodies, they definitely need to be factual. But I felt like there was scare tactics this time, and a lot of our local community think the same. It was a really big moment. I mean, I burst into tears when I got to Lismore. It wasn't just the water. We had floods the year before in North Haven, but it was actually how dramatic they'd gone through. It was like a war zone.
Yeah. No, last week we spoke to Laura there in Brisbane. She was talking about her property, and while it's on the flood map, she had some advice from the real estate company saying, well, what you should do is take photos as the flood comes in, so that if you're not affected, you've got that information to actually bring forth. I thought that was fantastic information.
2 things on that. I mean, one, Lismore, I do want to give them a massive compliment. Up and down the coast, we've got a Falvale Drive. It's one of the most vibrant towns. The amount of restaurants, cafes and cool little shops that have opened up, that town just bounces back. I own a caravan park in Port Macquarie, and what I'm talking about, the warnings, is they actually sent a text for an evacuation, and people woke up at 1:30 in the morning. They woke up all my guests and they all left in a panic, and the water was below. It was actually low tide. So it's those type of things that I think as a community we can do better.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Lifestyle Group, because you guys have gone through a rebrand. You've changed, and originally I think you were Elders Lifestyle Group. Is that right?
Yeah, we had a wonderful journey with Elders. I mean, they've been around, I used to say 180 years, but it must be close to 190 years. We grew with them a lot. We were very open with them. We built a group within inside a group. We investigated sort of 3 or 4 different scenarios. We're very open with Elders about what might happen. But what we realised is that the energy inside our group is really a group within a group, and we just didn't fit anywhere anymore. And there was no reflection of Elders. It was just that we needed to, a lot of people say, the personality of the business now comes out. And what we've sort of created within our team and our philosophy, that brand now represents that. Look, it's 4 weeks old. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress. Any change rattles your team. So and then Alfred came in the middle of that. So it's been a very testing time, but there's a lot of excitement at the moment within the group. They're wearing their new T-shirts and a new sense of pride. So it's been great.
Authenticity, we often talk about that when it comes to real estate and that whole engagement with vendors and those that are looking at buying. I've been sitting in this chair for a long time now, having done hundreds and hundreds of interviews. I know that the metro agents probably won't like me saying it, and it's not right across the board, but as soon as you go into regional areas, that authenticity, I do have to say, it becomes a little bit more transparent, a little bit more real. It's a little bit more focused on the buyers and the agencies as opposed to, hey, I'm a star operating in this metro area.
One of the things I've noticed, and even with myself, what's worked and not worked, is when I've gone into towns with strong community connection within my team. If we lack that, no matter how much training, how much expertise, how much money we spend, we can't connect with that community. When we go into towns and generally acquire a business and they've already got good connection, we just add a little bit, we explode when it comes to market share. You have to connect with your community in regional Australia.
All right. Well, sounds like you are a man on a mission with a number of offices there. How big is your team before I let you go?
Yeah, 220 people, and 21 offices.
Anybody you want to particularly give a shout out to?
The leadership team is absolutely incredible. There's about 10 different names, so I won't rattle them off, but the love and support they've given the team through this huge change, and especially the marketing team, the creative team, what they've created, I'm really proud, and thank them a lot.
All right, David Gray there in Port Macquarie this morning. Thanks for taking the time out. I'll let you get on with your Monday morning. And thanks so much for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast.
Love the podcast. Thanks so much for allowing me. Have a great day.
Stay ahead of the competition with the latest news, insights and data analysis on the property podcast that keeps you informed.
Okay, so 4 years in real estate, there will be people thinking about going into real estate for 2025. What would be, if you could speak to yourself 4 years ago, what would be some of those things that you would say to yourself now that you've got this experience under your belt?
I think the first thing that I would say is it's definitely what people see on social media and the news. A lot of those real estate reels and those, real estate articles, they're about people that have been working very, very hard for many years. So it's a lot of years of hard work and effort and sacrifice to get to that point. And you have to be going into it willing to make those sacrifices, knowing that it's not going to be a linear journey. There are going to be very tough days. There are going to be very bad months. But if you have a set, clear, defined goal, you'll get to where you need to be, but you can't give up at any point. The other thing that I probably would say is that researching the company that you want to work for is really, really important. You've got to make sure that it's a team that wants to see you grow. It's got a good culture. There's strong retention. People don't leave. And that everyone in that business seems to be doing well or supporting each other, because it's easy to sort of pick any brand to join. But if you're not appreciated and you're not taught correctly or you're not supported, your career isn't going to go further.
Yes, those are a couple of really interesting points. Strong retention, that's really important, as is the culture that you talk about, and being appreciated, because I think a lot of people think that all real estate companies are the same. They are not. That strong retention, we know that real estate agents, a lot of the fall off is happening after 12 months, and it's as high as over 80%. One of the things, and I'm really strong about this, is that when the employment happens, a lot of these new real estate agents are just sort of left to get on with it, and there's no guidance and holding the hand and helping them transition into the role of being a successful real estate agent. What do you think about that?
You're not wrong. A lot of agencies do just leave you to your own devices and say, well, here's a database, get calling. And then you get afraid to step on people's toes because they have existing clients. And you get worried about getting rejection because we have a lot of rejection in real estate. A lot of what we learn to be a good agent or a great agent is on the job. So it's not as though you can sit in a boardroom and have classes or workshop things and then you become a great agent. A lot of it is on the job. But that said, you should still have set parameters and guides and help with feedback, as well as help with campaigns to manage and run, as well as working with perhaps a more senior agent, going to appraisals, seeing how they operate day to day and absorbing that like a sponge. Because when you're first joining a new agency, that's what you should be. You should be a sponge. You should be excited to learn new things. You should be taking everything in. You should be reflecting on your days and months as you grow. I think it's also really important for you to voice your thoughts and concerns, because if you're afraid to voice how you're feeling and try to fix things and make things right so that you can do better, nobody knows that you need help. So if you need help, you really do need to voice it.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.